Hello, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today presented by Jelly Marketing. What can you expect and what should you pay your marketing vendors? My name is Carolyn Shomley, and I'll be moderating the webcast today. Please take a moment to open the chat module by clicking on the chat bubble icon at the lower right corner of your screen. This will then open a chat area on the right-hand side of your screen, and you'll see a drop-down menu with options next to the words to. If you have any technical problems today, you can send a chat message to host. If you have questions or comments for our presenter, chat to all panelists. And if you have comments or questions you'd like everyone to see, you can chat to everyone, and we'll have a chance to answer those questions at the end of today's presentation. A recording of this webcast will be available tomorrow, and we will send all registrants an email with that link. The sponsor for today's webcast is Jelly Marketing, a high-energy team of go-getters, storytellers, and experts in all things digital who work tirelessly to get your business, product, and message seen and heard by the right people. Today's presenter is Darian Kovacs, an Indigenous business leader with 15 years of experience in marketing, communications, and public relations. Throughout his career, he has also been a founder and board member of various foundations and charitable organizations. Darian is a co-host on the show Marketing Jam, featured on all the podcast channels and Amazon Prime. Through his award-winning company, Jelly Marketing, Darian has worked with various local, national, and global brands, building and executing their digital marketing and PR strategy, as well as teaching digital marketing strategy through their education platform, Jelly Academy. Darian has hosted multiple workshops for BCLMA and LMA and is the author of a white paper on SEO. He was a co-founder of the Canadian Internet Marketing Conference and is a regular contributor with BC Business Magazine, The Lawyer's Daily, Entrepreneur, and Forbes. Being both an educator and practitioner, Darian's mix of stories, practical examples, and takeaways leaves audiences feeling inspired and equipped to implement SEO, digital ads, social media, and PR strategies into their marketing. Darian's newest book, Marketing Mentors, is set to be available in bookstores as early as spring 2021. So with that, I'll go ahead and pass things over to Darian, and we will get today's presentation going. Darian.
Thank you so much for that warm introduction. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming here. I know some of you are recovering now from your post-Thanksgiving. And those of you that are listening at a later date and a later time, thank you for investing in you. So this whole concept and webinar idea came from a group of us that were working with law firms and were working in the legal sector. And they were wondering, what should we be paying people? And was there a vendor willing to kind of expose the pricing, expose the ways that they can best take advantage of and best leverage how to work with vendors? And so I did some research, talked to a bunch of vendors, talked to a bunch of client-side folks as well to find out what is the best way to have a really, really healthy relationship. And there are so many vendors you probably deal with on a day-to-day basis. SEO vendors, digital ads, public relations, websites, social media, video, marketing strategists, design, media buy, branding folks. And so we wanted to say, talking to each of these groups and getting kind of the best practices and the best ways they've seen the most leverage come from agency side and brand side, we put this together in a report. The main things we're going to be talking about these 5 areas. So how do you best leverage your SEO vendor, your digital ads, your public relations, the web vendor, and your social media vendor. And really, we also want to talk about what should they actually be doing and what is their role and what can you expect from them. Because I think that's so much about relationships, whether it's a relationship with a partner or a friend or anyone you deal with, having really good and clear expectations is a healthy way to go in. And sometimes either party may not know what the expectations could be or should be, and more importantly, even what should they be paying for those expectations. Let's start with reports. Reports is probably the #1 thing you should be expecting from your vendors. The big thing about reports is that it provides that transparency, provides that relationship, provides that talking point that each of you can meet on, where you can figuratively and literally be on the same page. Some of the reports that you can be getting are where is your traffic coming from, your website traffic, and distinguishing between those different types of traffic. So organic web traffic, which is people who just Google search and find your website, ad traffic, so those are ads that you might be running, and different websites. So what websites are referring people to your site? And when you know that information, you can make better marketing decisions. You can make better decisions as an administrator. You can make better decisions for where your law firm should be practicing and putting more energy and time and resources. The other thing these days is what we can know. And again, some of this is very creepy and very amazing that we can know this information, but it's just the value and the benefit of having Google Analytics on our websites, is what do people do when they visit our website? You know, did they visit 5 pages and then leave? Or did they visit 3 pages and then fill out a form? And what did they do? And what was their action that they took? And if they did something we didn't want them to do, what can we do to change that? If they're coming to our site and just leaving right away, what can we do to make a difference? Because if we're spending all this energy, time, and resources to get people to our site, how can we make sure that when they're on our site, you know, they leave a chat, a little question, they fill out a form, they leave an email address, they leave a phone number. Next one that we can discover is what city they're coming from, which is also really great. You can decide on which cities you can be putting your energy towards and focus on. Are they on a mobile or a desktop when they're on your website? You know, how many of the forms are being filled out and which types of forms? How much time are people spending on our website? And really the popular pages of our website. This is often a fun one between partners and lawyers to say which lawyers' pages are the most popular and which lawyers' pages are getting the most traffic. And so because of that, some lawyers just like that just for fun, maybe for their own ego, also just, again, out of interest to see which lawyers are the most popular and even which types of law, when people are inquiring about the different service areas you provide, which areas of law are getting the most attention. Some reporting tools you can use, whether your vendor provides this or you create it yourself and then ask your vendors to fill in the information on that dashboard. This is a great one. It's just this.com. Gecko board is another great one, really easy, really visual. And Google Data Studio is another one that's totally free. The first 2 you pay a monthly subscription fee for, whereas the third one is a free resource provided by Google. The only thing with that one is it's not as great at connecting with other service providers. So for example, This and Gecko board, you can not only have all of your web traffic data and analytics information, but you can tie in your e-newsletter, you can tie in your social media. And the great thing with that is going to a monthly partners meeting or a quarterly review, you're able to print off the dashboard, provide them the link 24/7. And so whenever they're inquiring, you can remind them to check the link, put it in their bookmark, and that information tells them and tells you how are you performing 24/7. So right away, they can look at the past month and compare month to month. Right away, you can look and find out where your leads coming from and where are the best qualified leads coming from. And all that information is right at your fingertips once you have a beautiful report. Let's jump right into types of vendors, search engine optimizers. What do they actually do? Who are these wild people of mystery? Typically it's been this black art, this magical trick. They've been rubbing oil on your website, hoping it ranks higher. But really, a good search engine optimizer, the ones that are highly skilled and good at their job and providing great reporting, these are the things that you can tell and what they do. Their job is to tweak the code to ensure a website is read and seen by Google as a friendly and helpful website. They analyze and audit code and image coding with your key search terms, so your keywords that you want your website to be known for. They help build backlinks to grow authority of your website, and they create blog posts that are listicles and designed to show you that you know the best and verses and top 10 of a topic. So again, if you've read the book Gary Chapman's 5 Love Languages, if you think of Google, Google's big love language these days is when you say the word best and verses and top 10 to Google in your blogs. Great way to describe what the SEO's job is. If you haven't seen this movie yet, this is Mean Girls, starring Lindsay Lohan. And so Google is like one of those really mean, judgmental girls in a high school. And if your website is walking down the hallway in a high school and those mean girls are judging your website, they're judging to see how your site is built. The coding, the H1 headers, the H2 headers, what content is on the blog, what logos are on your clothes, how is your hair, all those sort of details Google is judging. And that's about 50% how Google is judging your Google ranking, which is called on-site SEO. So you may have someone you're working with right now, and they be predominantly working on on-site SEO. But about 50% how Google judges your site is called off-site SEO. And so that's when your website is walking down the hallway and Mean Girl Google is judging your website. It's not just what you're wearing, but it's who's talking to you in the hallway. And what are they talking to you about? Are they talking to you about family law? Are they talking about personal injury? Are they talking about a state law? What words are they saying when they talk to you? And what cities are they mentioning when they talk to you? So the big thing that Google is using, instead of relying on just really good coders who know how to code a website really well, Google is really relying on social proof that you are an authority on a topic, that you know a lot of information about that topic and that theme and in that city and in that area and in that state and in that region. And so Google is judging in those two main ways. So when you talk to your SEO optimizer, find out, are you predominantly working on on-site SEO? So again, the big thing with that is, much like renovating a house, you're going to pay them a bigger fee up front. So they're going to do an audit, and they may or may not charge you for the audit, but an audit, which would be both an SEO audit and a Google Analytics audit, would be about $2,500. And then when it goes to the monthly support and kind of the monthly tweaking, depending on how bad the audit turns out, to say, okay, I need to update all these pages, it could look like $2,500 for 6 months. But then once they've got the main work done on adjusting and tweaking your website, the price goes down because they've done the majority of the on-site adjusting and fixes. They would then possibly be working on blog content, creating content, and then focusing on offsite SEO, which is, okay, how do we get content on other people's websites? How do we make sure that your Google My Business listing is fully optimized? How do we make sure that your YouTube is fully optimized? All of those factors are taken into play when Google ranks your site. So the only concern would be is, do you have someone that's just focusing on on-site SEO, say anywhere from $1,500 to $2,500 a month, depending on what season and how far into the contract you are, or do you have someone who's doing off-site SEO, which can range anywhere from creating videos to writing blogs to working on getting you articles in the newspaper and op-eds, which are opinion editorials that they can pitch to the press, which again gets you some really good backlinks. And again, that can range anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 a month, depending on the content that they're producing. And that's going to be based on things that you can see and touch and feel and know that they're doing. And again, a big one that is sometimes is overlooked because sometimes SEO optimizers are focusing on the website is making sure that you have someone handling your Google My Business listing. Sometimes and people see it as a social media thing, some people see it as a SEO thing, but make sure that you have one of your vendors covering the Google My Business listing. Some measurables you can set up with your search engine optimizers. What are the top 5 key terms or phrases that you want to be known for? Show monthly whether you're getting higher in Google ranking or lower, and it's going to change depending on the competition and the work that they're doing. Explain what they've worked on in the last month and what their plan is for the next month. That's something that you can expect to see. And what on-site work they're focusing on and what off-site SEO work is being done. And if they're just an on-site optimizer company, then that's okay. But make sure that you are also focusing on the off-site work as well. And when comparing audits done each quarter, which is the SEO audit, using a tool like Ahrefs, SEMrush, or Moz, there should be less warnings and flags about your website on the audit. And that's a big one. They should be transparent and working with you to show you that every quarter when they do an audit, they're getting you to 100. So maybe when they do an audit, it gives you a number out of 100. Lower is bad, higher is good. You may be a 60 or a 40 or a 50 or a 70. Their job is to get you up to 100. And they may never get you to 100 because the site, you can never get it that fast because maybe you have videos on the site. There's maybe a few lagging pieces, but getting you up to that 98, 99 area is really, really key so that they can then focus on other resources like offsite SEO and work to make sure that you're seen and heard and people are creating and getting connected to some great content. Some SEO audit tools that I mentioned, Ubersuggest is a free one you can use yourself. SEMrush also has some great training modules. Moz is a really great one, has some amazing videos every Friday. And Ahrefs is the most robust tool and a great resource that you can even try yourself. And if you're wanting to kind of, do an outside audit or do an audit yourself, those are some of the resources you can use to find out what are they actually doing and how do we hold them accountable. This is a little SEO joke. Hey, Google, where is the best place to hide a dead body? Page 2 of Google. All right, digital ads experts, what do they actually do? They create ads that would go on Google, Facebook, Instagram, Bing, LinkedIn, YouTube, Display Network, which is those follow me ads, those remarketing ads. They manage your ad spend, so you might even see them kind of like a Wolf of Wall Street character, kind of like a broker to make sure that your ad spend is being spent in the right places. They take down ads that aren't getting results, and they create new ads to boost departments of your firm. Some measurables you can set up with this group: how many people to your website from the ads, how many phone calls from the traffic from the ads, how many forms are filled out from traffic from the ads, and how many people are being followed around with retargeting ads, and how many impressions from your ads. And again, keeping in mind that it's not just about impressions, but it's about making an impression. So it's one thing to get impressions. Again, it's not about just about getting impressions, but it's making an impression. You want to make sure that their website traffic is coming back and you're getting those phone calls and forms filled out. And thankfully today in 2020 and 2021, we're able to measure and monitor all phone calls and all forms being filled out thanks to Google Analytics and even the tool CallRail. CallRail is an amazing resource that even if you do print pieces or out-of-home pieces, CallRail can track to see where you're getting calls from, and it completes the whole story, and you can better understand what's happening. Let's jump over to public relations specialists. What do? They pitch your brand to relevant media outlets, so editors, freelance writers, etc. They write listicles, which is an article in the form of a list. So you might have seen this on BuzzFeed or other places like, top 5 reasons to hire a lawyer in your hometown, top 10 reasons to, hire a lawyer, or top 10 things to ask a lawyer when you're looking to find the best one. Op-eds, which are opinion editorials, which is an opinion about something that includes some stats and facts. They work with your staff and submit appropriately, and they manage your advertorial spend, which is also called purchase editorial or sponsored content, and that's what their role is. And you might hire them because you're saying, all right, I've got a really great on-site SEO person. Now I'm going to focus on some off-site SEO, which is what a public relations specialist can be known for, but they can also get you some great content, which also allows the lawyers, the partners in the firm, to send out an email being like, hey, check out this article I just got in Forbes. Check out this article I just got in blank newspaper or blank magazine. And it's really great for showing relevancy, authority, not just from the Google standpoint, but also on a social standpoint as well. And one thing, to jump back on the digital ads, folks, what should you actually be paying them? That's a great question. So the big thing that you are looking at is around $1,400 a month, which should include the management of that ad spend and also the reporting of said ad spend. So you want to look around $1,400 a month. Some groups charge you a percentage base. So if you're saying, hey, I'm spending $10,000 a month and they charge 20%, so they're going to charge you $2,000 a month. Which again, the only problem with that is that if you decide to spend more than that, or you're really ramping up your ad spend, you continue to pay more the more you want to run ads. And their motivation is to get you to spend more on ads so that they can get paid more. Whereas if you can negotiate a flat fee for services and reporting, it motivates them to do a really, really good job. And ideally, you can even find a vendor that does digital ads and SEO, so that ideally over time, because of really good SEO work, you can spend less on ads. So it's a really good idea saying, hey, you know what? The goal would be after 2 years, I want to get my cost per lead down and I want to spend less on ads because I want my organic traffic to be bringing me more clients and more open files. So something to consider when you are working with a digital ads expert to say, hey, what's your SEO plan and what's your exit plan and how do you lower my cost per lead and how do you do that? So public relations specialists, some things that you can set up, some measurables, how many earned media hits each month, how many people to our website from the editorial, how many phone calls from traffic from the editorial, and how many forms filled out from traffic from the editorial. And when it comes to a PR firm, depending on the roles and the involvement they have, their job may be simply sending out some press releases and writing the listicles for you and writing the op-eds. So again, anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 a month and more, depending on how involved they are in the writing process. So in some ways, they may just be interviewing your lawyers and then transcribing what they say. They may be getting ideas from the lawyers and then tweaking them into listicles. They may be coming up with articles from scratch. They may be using a tool called like newsjacking, which the idea is something happens in the news, and then they jump on it as a relevant topic and as you as a relevant source of information because, say, a famous couple got divorced. They're able to speak to them and be like, hey, we've got this divorce lawyer at our firm. He can speak to that, and this is what we can talk about. So those are the things that you want with a PR firm, is that they're on retainer, they're thinking about your brand 24/7, they're figuring out ways to get you webinars and workshops, they're figuring out ways to get you involved in the community, they're figuring out ways that your social impact and your giving can also leverage more traffic, more awareness so that you can open more files. Website builders. What do they do? So they have your website on a really good hosting platform. So some web companies actually do their own hosting, which is more and more rare, but they make sure that your hosting is really, really good and strong and never goes down. They're updating the back end of your site, keeping up with all the standards, so SSL and Castle. They have your website on a great platform that they or you can easily update. So that could be WordPress, which is the majority of the internet today. Squarespace is another amazing alternative. Those are the two sites that I would highly recommend. If you start getting into like Wix or some of the other ones, they're not as high quality. They're harder to do SEO on. Or in some cases, some people do custom coded websites or another CMS that is difficult to understand. The problem with those is that you end up being stuck with that website vendor, or on a custom coded, you always need the website vendor to do your web updates. But if you've got something like WordPress or Squarespace, you're able to easily update them. They look good, and it's very easy to find a vendor, a support person to update those sites. Big difference between WordPress and Squarespace. WordPress, you could describe it more like Lego, a little more detailed, a little more fun. You can a little more flexibility. Squarespace is like Duplo, so it's bigger, less flexibility, but very difficult to break. So WordPress, you could go into the back end and break it, where Squarespace, it's pretty hard to do that. They also make sure that your domain name is registered and doesn't expire. Some measurables you can set up with this team is they're giving your Google Analytics results with the goals set up. That is super, super important that they set up your analytics and they set up goals on your website. And goals, again, a totally free resource that you can measure and track to see what your website is doing while everyone's sleeping and what's happening all week. Updates are completed within 48 hours if they are the ones who need to update it. They check to see how fast is the loading speed. They update all the new industry standards. And they also talk to you about what the options are for a web chat and to give you some web chat options. They look at email request options for getting people to supply their email. Newsletter setup is their job. So how you know your website is awesome, a few small goals you could track: customer fills out a form, a phone call is made, and someone spends more than 5 minutes on your site, and lastly, e-newsletter sign up. So again, if you look at a Squarespace, super basic brochure site, you maybe have the content already and it's on some old GeoCity website or just an old site that's just very difficult to upkeep. Transferring everything over to a Squarespace, anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000. Building you a WordPress from scratch, but again, using a template and keeping it very simple, bringing your content over, anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. And then the other one to look at is if you're getting them to do more, hey, I want you to do copywriting. I want you to take photos. I want you to do videos for the site. That's where those add-ons add up. But as far as kind of a core basic pricing, these days, thanks to WordPress and thanks to Squarespace, it's very much more accessible for people to build a website. It takes a lot less skills to build something from scratch versus building something from WordPress or Squarespace. So that's kind of the average prices that you can look at. And then that way you're not blowing the budget on a whole new site, say for 50, 60 grand like in the past. This way you can spend, again, 20 to 25 grand with all the bells and whistles, photos and videos, and then you can spend the rest of your budget on focusing on SEO, great content to make sure the site is found. So again, that old movie, Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams, where if you build it, they will come. Not true for the website because, again, if you build it, you got to make sure you do SEO so that people will come. Social media specialists, what do? Well, they create a calendar 1 month in advance for approvals. They're posting images, videos, and written content on key platforms, so LinkedIn, especially company and volunteer personal profiles. Using a tool like Hootsuite, these people can do this amazing resource where anyone in the firm who wants to, is too busy to actually update their LinkedIn, they can volunteer their LinkedIn profile, and then every time the company posts out something exciting about the company, it goes on those people's LinkedIn personal profiles. Again, the way the algorithm is set up for LinkedIn is that you're way more likely to engage with and see a post from a person versus a company. They're probably going to update your Facebook page. People want to expect and they see that you have a Facebook page just for legitimacy, and YouTube channel. And a YouTube channel is really important, especially for SEO reasons. YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. And again, it's owned by Google, so you want to keep Google happy, so make sure you've got a really good YouTube. Those are the 3 channels. If I was a law firm, wanting to know if I could only be on 3 channels, those are the 3 channels I would be on. I'm going to share a little video that we put together, which again, just to highlight all the different social media channels and just to bring home the fact that you do not need to be on every social media channel as a brand, and you can consider maybe just taking a break on some, and because every social media channel has a different personality. Hey, good to meet you. You're okay that I filmed this, right? Hey, everyone. I'm here at Speed Dating. This is awesome. Here's my business card. I need to know if you're a good photographer. It's really important if we're in a relationship that you know how to take photos of me. I hang out with a lot of reporters, a lot of politicians. If this works out for our first date, I even made a sweater for you. Have some good discussions, arguments, disagreements, learn a lot of new things, and overall, find some great memes. Is it me you're looking for? Yeah, we just met, but hey, why not? Let's be friends. By the way, did you see that other person here dressed all in yellow? There is some amazing outfits that they were wearing that I'm definitely going to copy. I love hats. So where do you work? You guys looking for any new employees? I love following people. Sometimes I just follow people home. I know, I just stopped doing that. All right, what do you think of this look? No? Okay, I got another. Just so you know, I don't focus people as much anymore. I could plan our whole wedding. I could do all the decorations for our wedding. I know I'm getting too far, but you know, I've got a whole group of people I hang out with, young and old. So I'm hip with the kids. So if you have kids, that's cool. I'm going to answer a lot of questions for you. Give me any question, and I'll have an answer for you within 24 hours. Did we go to high school together, maybe? Oh, and if you prefer that guy's look, we can even swap faces. I know we don't know each other very well, but do you mind introducing me to one of your connections? By the time we're done taking the photos, the meal's typically cold, but you got to get used to that. #cold food. I love that someone else organized this, but there's definitely some changes I make. I can give you some references if you're interested, but I feel like this was a great connection. Come on. And no, again, I will not tell you my real name. Got 4 more events to go to tonight. I went to 3 earlier today. Thanks, everyone. Remember to like and subscribe. Not all social media is the same. Know your brand. Make your match for a successful relationship. So is there a hashtag for this? #speed dating? This is just something fun we put together. Again, to give people the relief and to know that you don't need to be on every channel. Every channel is a little bit different, and it takes the pressure off from feeling like you need to be everywhere. Some measurables you can set up with these social media vendors: how many people to your website from social media and which channels, how many phone calls from the traffic from your social media, how many forms are filled out from traffic from social media, what level of engagement are you getting from the posts? Is it 20 engagements per post, 5? And if there's no engagement, maybe it's not worth the energy and time and resources to put into it. Again, looking at the pricing for this, so if it is managing a Hootsuite channel, which posts out to the Facebook page, your company LinkedIn, and maybe 5 of the lawyers at your firm, if it's focusing on photo and written content, so you can look at anywhere from $2,500 to $4,000 a month. If you start adding in video in there, you can up it to about $5,000 to $6,000 a month. But again, focusing on what is that content. Maybe it's just focusing on video, and you do a big video kind of spend up front, and then those videos can be used for the next quarter. So maybe you just plan out a bigger fee every quarter where you do a series of videos and photos, and then that content can be used throughout the other months, which again, you can then look at more of like a $2,500 a month management fee, and then looking at a bigger spike for photos and videos, about $2,500 to $3,000 every quarter. So again, some of the prices that you can look at for working with someone in social media. So questions to put out when putting out an RFP or interviewing a possible vendor. What does your reporting look like? Please send me examples. How have you increased the amount of goals triggered for a client, which again is really crucial. How have you decreased a client's cost per lead, which is so crucial because the main goal here is how do you work with someone who cares about your budget, not just spending the budget every month, but making sure that you can get more leads for that same budget. How do you track and monitor to see if you're sending a qualified lead, qualified traffic versus unqualified traffic to your website? What do they do? Do they monitor it? Do they review it? Do they work with your receptionist? Do they work with your CRM? How do they make sure that they're getting the best traffic to your site, not just bots or not just unverified traffic or unqualified traffic? Please send me a link to your clutch.co profile where I can see reviews by past clients. This is kind of becoming the brand standard now for our industry, where Clutch goes and phones all of our past clients and puts together a really good accountable review site that makes sure that you are getting and working with the best vendors? And what marketing efforts are you practicing for your own agency? I love this question because, again, in a sense, especially if they're a B2B firm or they're a B2C firm, and what type of law firm that you are, what is that marketing agency actually doing with their energy and time? And, if that's what they're doing for themselves, hey, why wouldn't they suggest that for you and your law firm? Writing a website RFP, we're going to send a link out because there's an amazing website that has all the steps, all the tips, and even a sample RFP for a website that you can download and get. So you're going to get that in the follow-up email. And also, if you want the SEO for law firms white paper, it's totally free. It's ungated. You don't even have to give us your email address. We're going to put a link to that as well in the follow-up email that will go out with the recording. We're now going to open up for Q&A at this point.
There we go. Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Great presentation. Thank you, Darian. Wonderful information. And again, if anyone has any questions, you can go ahead and chat them right now to everyone or chat directly to all panelists, and we'll get those over to Darian. But one question that came across is, of the social media platforms that you discussed, is there one channel that you recommend most for law firms to use?
Yeah, I would definitely say LinkedIn. LinkedIn, both from a business perspective, the company profile, and more importantly, and this is where I don't think people realize, is the individual lawyers at that firm, them posting on their law firm's behalf and them posting about their law firm makes a huge difference.
Okay. And also, of some of the things that you mentioned, is there one area that you suggest firms to focus in on versus, the digital ad experts versus the PR specialists, the website builders, social media specialists?
Yeah, if you're limited budget and limited resources, and you're trying to figure out, okay, which vendor should I be engaging with? Well, I don't know if many people have the choice but to engage with a web vendor, so having someone managing their website. And then I would then look at the option of learning how to do some of the stuff first if you have a really low budget, so getting someone to teach you about SEO and digital ads and social media content creation. But again, if you don't have the time, I'd look at SEO for sure, because over time, the best part about SEO is that it saves you a ton of money over in the long run, saves you from having to spend ad dollars all the time to get clients. But I think as you're getting going as a firm, spending some ad dollars can get you going. And then also when it comes to social media, getting someone even just to come in and shoot some videos every quarter, so you got some great video content. It humanizes who you are as a law firm. It gets that personal connection. And then even building out an e-newsletter of past clients and current clients is also a great thing to start spending your energy on.
Okay. We are considering a new client alert software. We currently use Constant Contact and are considering Vulture and Concept. Any suggestions for client alert software?
Yeah, when it comes to the software, there's an amazing website where you can go to and compare all the softwares. You can just put in the different softwares that you're considering, the three names, and then there's this website that pops up and compares all three, and even pricing and reviews and support and all that great stuff. So when it comes to specific software, we're huge fans of MailChimp. It's just easy to use. They do an incredible job updating it. It's probably the biggest email software out there, and because of that, it has some of the best customer service and the best resources, and it's the best optimized. So that's my encouragement as far as MailChimp's concerned, and it makes your e-newsletters and alerts look the best as well.
Okay.
Other big one would be Clio. We're huge fans of kind of the whole Clio ecosystem and what they've been able to do. And again, I would always check with your Clio rep or someone at Clio to see if they have an alternative to that and for that.
Wonderful. That's it for the questions that have come across. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And just a reminder that we will send out an email tomorrow with a link to the recording as well as the slides for today. And it looks like one just quick follow-up, the website that you mentioned, Darian, about where you can get the pricing and compare the software. Is that something you could share of what website that may be?
It's called Capterra, so C-A-P, like a cap you wear on your head, and then Terra, T-E-R-R-A, Capterra.
Perfect. Okay. Any final thoughts from you before we wrap it up?
No, it's great. Thank you for coming. Thank you for attending, and all the best.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and look for that email from us tomorrow. Thanks.